The Galactic Empire had ruled the stars for thousands of years. Their fleets were everywhere. Their power was absolute. No world dared to challenge them. No species even tried. In the center of their capital system, a massive council chamber floated in space. It was a place where the most powerful beings in the galaxy gathered. Tall, armored commanders. Cold, calculating scientists. Ancient leaders who had seen entire civilizations rise and fall. Today, they were not here for war. They were here to laugh. At the center of the chamber, a giant holographic screen showed a small blue planet. Earth. A quiet murmur filled the room. "So this is the species we have been observing," one commander said with clear disappointment. Another leaned forward, studying the data. "They fight among themselves. They divide their own kind. Their technology is unstable." A third one chuckled. "They are not even united as a single world. How can they ever reach the stars?" Soft laughter spread across the chamber. Humans were interesting, but not impressive. A senior general stood up. His armor reflected the glowing lights of the room. His voice was deep and confident. "For decades, we have monitored this species," he said. "They are aggressive, yes. But primitive. They are still bound to their planet. They pose no threat to the Empire." More laughter followed. On the screen, images of human cities appeared. Rockets launching. Satellites orbiting. War footage. Old conflicts. "To think," one scientist said, almost amused, "they still use chemical propulsion." Another added, "They dream of reaching other stars, but at this rate, it will take them centuries." The entire room relaxed. The discussion was already over. Humans were nothing. Just another young species that would either destroy itself, or slowly fade into history. Then, a sharp sound broke the calm. A warning signal. The room went quiet. All eyes turned toward the central console. An officer stepped forward, confused. "We are receiving an unknown signal." The general frowned. "From where?" The officer hesitated. "That's the problem, sir. It does not match any known civilization." The room became still. Every empire. Every species. Every signal in the galaxy was catalogued. Nothing was unknown. "Trace it," the general ordered. The officer worked quickly. Data streamed across the screen. Coordinates shifted again and again, until finally, they locked. The officer looked up slowly. "It's coming from the human system." Silence. For a moment, no one spoke. Then a few quiet laughs returned. "A mistake," someone said. "It has to be," another added. "Humans cannot produce unknown signals." The general crossed his arms. "Run it again." The system recalculated. Same result. Earth. The laughter faded. The signal changed. It was no longer random. It became structured. Precise. Like a message, but not one they could fully understand. "What are they doing?" a scientist whispered. Before anyone could answer, another alert appeared. This time, it was not a signal. It was a detection. Something had just entered the outer edge of the system. No warp signature. No jump gate. No distortion. It simply appeared. The main screen shifted. And then, they saw it. A massive shape in the darkness of space. At first, it looked like a shadow. Then the details became clear. A warship. But not like any ship they had ever seen. Its design was strange. Smooth, yet complex. Covered in glowing lines that pulsed like living energy. At its center, a bright core burned like a small sun. The ship was enormous. Larger than the Empire's largest battleships. And completely silent. No, that's not possible, one commander said. Scan it, the general ordered. The systems tried. And failed. No readable structure. No known materials. No weapon signatures detected. That's impossible, the scientist said. Every ship has weapons. The ship did not move. It did not send a signal. It did not react. It just stayed there. Watching. The general narrowed his eyes. Identify it. The officer swallowed. We can't. A heavy silence filled the chamber. Then, quietly, someone said the words no one wanted to hear. Could it be human? This time. No one laughed. The general looked at the glowing warship again. For the first time, there was doubt in his eyes. Send a scout fleet, he said slowly. His voice was calm. But inside, something had changed. Because deep down, every leader in that room felt it. This was not a mistake. And whatever that ship was, it should not exist. The scout fleet moved out in perfect formation. Dozens of advanced warships left the Empire's defense line and headed toward the unknown vessel. Their engines glowed bright blue as they crossed the dark space between them. Inside the command chamber, no one spoke. All eyes were locked on the screen. The massive warship remained still. Silent. Waiting. Distance, the general asked. Closing fast, the officer replied. They will reach scanning range in 30 seconds. The seconds felt longer than they should. For the first time, the Empire was not confident. Begin long-range scans, the scientist ordered. Energy waves spread from the scout ships, scanning every part of the unknown vessel. The results came back instantly. And they made no sense. No structure match. No internal layout detected. No power source identified. The scientist frowned. That's impossible, every machine has a core. Another officer leaned closer. Maybe it's shielded. The system recalculated. No shield detected. The room grew colder. How can something exist without structure, without power, without defense, someone whispered. The general's voice was sharp. Focus. There is always an explanation. But even he did not sound fully convinced. The scout fleet reached close range. Now the human warship filled the screen. It was even more terrifying up close. Its surface was not smooth metal. It looked alive. Tiny lines of light moved across it like flowing energy. The glowing core at the center pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. And still. No weapons. No engines firing. No signals. Just silence. Try communication, the general said. A signal was sent. Unknown vessel, identify yourself. You are in Imperial space. No response. The officer tried again. Identify your origin or prepare to be classified as hostile. Still nothing. The silence felt heavy. Then suddenly, a signal came back. Short. Clear. Simple. Do not engage. The entire room froze. It was not a complex message. No threats. No explanation. Just 4 words. Do not engage. For a moment, no one moved. Then, a low laugh echoed through the chamber. It came from one of the commanders. Humans, he said with a smirk. They send warnings now. Another joined in. Maybe they finally learned fear. The laughter slowly returned. But it was different this time. Not as strong. Not as confident. The general stared at the message. Translate again, he said. It is correct, sir. Any hidden meaning? No. The general looked at the warship again. Still silent. Still unmoving. Then he made his decision. If it is human, then it is weak, he said coldly. And if it is not, then we will learn what it is. One young officer hesitated. Sir, what if we shouldn't? The general cut him off. We are the Empire. Nothing tells us what to do. The room went quiet again. Prepare weapons, he ordered. On the screen, the scout fleet shifted formation. Energy weapons powered up. Target locks formed. Bright lights gathered at the front of every ship. The unknown warship did not react. It did not move. It did not defend itself. It just stayed there, as if it already knew what would happen. Final warning, the officer asked. The general paused for a second. Then shook his head. Fire. A storm of energy burst across space. Dozens of powerful beams struck the human warship at the same time. The light was so bright it covered the entire screen. The Empire had destroyed fleets with less force. For a moment, everything was white. Then the light faded. The officers leaned forward. The general narrowed his eyes. And what they saw made the room fall completely silent. The warship was still there. Not damaged. Not scratched. Not even moved. The glowing lines on its surface continued to flow calmly, as if nothing had happened. One officer whispered, "That should not be possible." Another shook his head slowly. "Those weapons can destroy planets." The scientist's voice trembled. It didn't block the attack, it ignored it. The laughter was gone now. Completely gone. Only silence remained. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Fear began to spread. The general stared at the screen. For the first time in his long life, he did not have an answer. And far out in the darkness, the human warship remained still. Watching. Waiting. As if the real test had not even started yet. For a long moment, no one spoke. The Empire fleet held position, surrounding the silent warship. Weapons were still active, but no one fired again. It was as if the entire battlefield had frozen in place. Inside the command chamber, the air felt heavy. The general stood still, staring at the screen. His mind searched for logic, for a weakness, for anything he could understand. There has to be a limit, he said quietly. Everything has a limit. But no one answered. Because deep down, they were no longer sure. Run another scan, the scientist said quickly. Closer this time. Full spectrum. The scout ships adjusted their position. New waves of energy scanned the warship again, stronger than before. The result came back instantly. Error. 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 The system could not even describe what it was seeing. It's like the ship is not fully there, the scientist whispered. Like it exists in a different state. The general clenched his fist. That's impossible. Before anyone could reply, something changed. The warship moved. Not fast. Not aggressive. Just a slow, controlled shift. But that single movement caused a chain reaction. All ships report, an officer shouted. Target lock lost. Weapons offline. Navigation systems not responding. Panic spread across the fleet. On the screen, every Empire ship began to drift slightly out of formation. What did it do? The general demanded. No idea, the scientist replied. We didn't detect any energy release. But the effects were real. Very real. The human warship had not attacked. It had simply moved. And somehow, that was enough. The glowing lines on its surface began to shine brighter. The core at its center pulsed once, slowly. Like a heartbeat. Then. A wave expanded outward. It was not bright. Not violent. Just a soft ripple in space itself. For a second, it looked harmless. Then it touched the Empire fleet. And everything changed. Half of the ships vanished. No explosion. No fire. No sound. One moment they were there. The next, empty space. The officer stared at the screen in shock. Where did they go? No debris, no signals, nothing, another replied. They're just gone. The scientist's voice was filled with fear. That's not destruction, that's removal. The general felt a cold weight in his chest. A weapon that did not destroy. A weapon that erased. Retreat, he said suddenly. The command was immediate. Full retreat. All ships, fall back. But it was too late. Jump drives not responding. Engines failing. We're stuck. The remaining ships struggled to move, but space itself felt wrong. Like something was holding them in place. The human warship slowly turned. Its massive form shifted until it faced the center of the fleet. Every movement was calm. Controlled. Intentional. It was not rushing. It was not angry. It was simply deciding. Another pulse of light formed at its core. Smaller this time. Focused. The general's voice dropped. Shields. Now. Shields are not activating. The light expanded again. This time, it passed through only a few ships. And just like before. They disappeared. Gone. Clean. Instant. No chance to react. The remaining fleet broke into chaos. This is not a battle, one commander shouted. We can't fight this. The general did not respond. Because he knew the truth now. They were never meant to fight. They were meant to understand. And they had failed. The warship stopped moving. The glowing lines dimmed slightly. The attack ended. For now. The remaining ships floated in silence, broken and powerless. No one dared to fire again. No one dared to speak. And in the middle of it all, the human warship remained. Untouched. Unchallenged. Unstoppable. Watching them. As if waiting to see if they had finally learned. No one moved. The battlefield was silent, but it was not peace. It was something worse. Fear. The remaining Empire ships floated in broken formation. Systems flickered. Weapons were dead. Engines responded slowly, like they were no longer fully connected to reality. Inside the command chamber, no one dared to speak first. The general stood still, his eyes locked on the human warship. It had stopped attacking. That was the most terrifying part. It did not need to continue. It had already proven everything. Status report, the general finally said, his voice lower than before. Half the fleet is gone, an officer replied. Not destroyed, just gone. We can't track them anywhere. Communication systems unstable. Navigation corrupted. The scientist stepped forward slowly. His face had changed. The confidence was gone. Sir. I think we are not dealing with normal technology. The general looked at him. Explain. The scientist took a breath. That ship is not fighting us in our way. It is not using force as we understand it. It is changing space itself. The room went quiet again. Changing space, one commander repeated. Yes, the scientist said. Our weapons hit it, but they had no effect. Our systems are failing without damage. And our ships, they didn't explode. He paused. They were removed from this space. A cold silence followed. The general slowly turned back to the screen. The human warship was still there, glowing softly, like a star that refused to burn out. "What, are humans?" someone whispered. No one answered. Because no one knew anymore. The general's hand tightened behind his back. "We misjudged them," he said quietly. It was the first time those words had ever been spoken in that room. Then, a new signal appeared. All systems focused on it instantly. It came from the warship. Clean. Simple. Direct. "You were warned." That was all. No anger. No threat. Just truth. The words hit harder than any weapon. One commander lowered his head. "We attacked first." Another whispered, "We laughed at them." The general closed his eyes for a brief second. Then opened them again. "Can we respond?" he asked. The officer hesitated. "Communication is unstable, but maybe." "Do it." A signal was sent. "This is the Galactic Empire, we request to cease hostilities." The message echoed into the darkness. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the human warship reacted. Not with movement. Not with attack. But with light. The glowing lines across its surface slowly dimmed. The core at its center reduced its brightness. It was powering down. The officers stared in disbelief. "It's stopping," one said. The scientist nodded slowly. "It was never trying to destroy us completely." The general understood. This was a demonstration. Not a war. A warning. The realization spread across the room. If that ship had wanted to end them, there would be nothing left. Outside, the remaining Empire ships slowly regained limited control. Systems flickered back online. Engines responded again. The pressure that held them in place faded. "They're letting us go," an officer said quietly. No one celebrated. No one felt relief. Only a deep, heavy understanding. The general stepped forward, his voice steady, but no longer proud. "Record everything," he said. "Every detail. Every reading. Every second." He paused. "This changes everything." The human warship began to move again. Slowly. Calmly. Turning away from the fleet. It did not chase. It did not threaten. It simply left. Returning to the darkness from where it came. And just like before, it disappeared. No warp. No trace. Gone. The screen showed only empty space. But the silence it left behind was louder than anything. In the command chamber, no one spoke for a long time. Because they all understood now. The Empire was no longer the strongest force in the galaxy. And somewhere out there, humans were watching. Quiet. Patient. And far more powerful than anyone had ever imagined. The Empire returned home, but it was not the same Empire. The surviving ships moved slowly through space, damaged not by weapons, but by something deeper. Their systems worked again, but the confidence of their crews was gone. No one spoke during the journey. No one celebrated survival. Because everyone knew. They had just witnessed something far beyond their understanding. Back in the capital system, the council chamber filled once again. The same leaders. The same room. But everything felt different. No one laughed this time. At the center, the holographic screen replayed the encounter. The moment the human warship appeared. The failed scans. The attack that did nothing. And then. The ships disappearing. Gone without a trace. The room stayed silent. The general stepped forward, slower than before. His voice, once full of pride, now carried weight. This is not a report of defeat, he said. It is a report of reality. No one interrupted. No one questioned. Because the truth was already clear. We believed humans were weak, he continued. We believed they were divided, primitive, and far behind us. He paused. We were wrong. The words echoed through the chamber. A scientist activated new data. We have reviewed everything. That ship did not use known energy. It did not follow known laws. It did not even behave like a machine. Then what was it? One leader asked. The scientist hesitated. We don't know. That answer was the most dangerous of all. Days passed. The story spread. At first, only within the Empire. Then beyond it. Whispers moved through trade routes, across distant systems, into hidden networks. The Empire was stopped. By one ship. A human ship. At first, many did not believe it. But then the evidence followed. Recordings. Sensor data. Visual proof. And slowly. The galaxy stopped laughing. New orders were sent from the Empire. Not commands of war. But warnings. Do not engage human forces. Do not provoke human systems. Maintain distance. For the first time in its history. The Empire chose caution. Other civilizations followed. Some tried to reach out to humans. Diplomatic signals were sent. Peace offers. Trade proposals. But most of them received no answer. Humans remained silent. Just like their warship. Far away, on Earth. Nothing looked different. Cities were still busy. People still lived their normal lives. Most of them had no idea what had just happened beyond their world. But deep below the surface. Hidden facilities came alive. Massive structures, buried for years, began to activate. Screens lit up. Systems powered on. Quiet voices spoke in calm tones. Contact confirmed. Response successful. Observation phase complete. A figure stood in front of a large window, looking at a distant star. Did they learn? Someone asked. The figure nodded slightly. Yes. Will they attack again? A small pause. No. Good. Silence returned. Because there was no need for celebration. This had never been about victory. It had always been about control. Out in deep space. Far beyond the Empire's reach. The darkness was not empty. One by one. Faint lights appeared. Not stars. Not natural. Ships. Many of them. Different shapes. Different sizes. All carrying the same glowing patterns. The same silent power. The same unknown design. The warship the Empire had faced was not alone. It had never been alone. Back in the Empire's capital, the general stood alone, looking out at the stars. For the first time in his long life. He felt small. We thought we ruled the galaxy, he said quietly. A scientist standing behind him replied, maybe we never did. The general watched the endless space in front of him. Somewhere out there. Humans were waiting. Not expanding. Not conquering. Just watching. Preparing. And now. The entire galaxy knew one simple truth. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not behind. Humanity was something else entirely. Something patient. Something silent. Something unstoppable. And the next time they moved, it would not be a warning.